Okay, welcome to the next installment of the alumni interview series. Today, the star of the show is Antoinette. Antoinette is one of our alumni from teaching in Thailand. As always, I'll introduce myself and I'll have my colleague here, Gabby, introduce herself as well, and then we'll get to Antoinette. So my name's Rachel. I'm the sales and marketing manager for CIE TEFL. I myself am an alumni of a CIE Teach Abroad program, the one in Spain. And again, I'm just super excited to be here and to hear more about Antoinette's experience and to share that with you all. So Gabby, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, I'm Gabby. I am the program advisor, or sorry, the program assistant for Teach and TEFL at CIEE. I'm also an alumni of the Teach Abroad in Spain program, along with the Teach in Thailand program. If Antoinette looks familiar, it's because her face has been plastered all over CIE during her time. So I'm excited for you guys to get to know her because I know she's been up to a lot since then. So yeah, let's do
Antoinette, let's hear you introduce yourself.
it.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Antoinette Williams. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I did the Teach in Thailand program right after finishing my master's in education policy. And I'm excited to see what questions we get into today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's take a look back in time. And because you said that you were just finishing up your master's degree. I know a
Mhm.
lot of people go into teaching after finishing their bachelor's degree. So kind of where were you at before this whole experience started?
Okay, so during my bachelor's degree from Xavier University of Louisiana, I got the opportunity to study abroad.
Mhm.
And so I went through a direct exchange program, but one of my friends went through CIE for their exchange program. So that's how I first became aware of the programs that you all offered. And so right after undergrad, I planned on going abroad through Peace Corps. COVID hit.
Mhm.
So that didn't happen. I went straight into grad school. And then once grad school finished up, COVID was dying down, and I saw the opportunity to go abroad again with you all. And that's how I chose Thailand.
Yeah, excellent. So tell me more, like what did you get your bachelor's degree and then what did you go on to get your master's degree in?
Mhm. So my bachelor's degree is in political science with a minor in education. I always knew I wanted to work in some sort of like education policy field. So after that, I got my first master's in education policy. And after going to Thailand and like getting my TEFL, I got my TEFL from the University of Toronto.
Mhm.
So that was wonderful. And dealing with like my students in Thailand and experiencing Thailand, I wanted to study linguistics more. So I got my master's in applied linguistics from the University of Massachusetts. And now I'm working on my law degree from Thurgood Marshall School of Law.
Wow, wow, that is amazing.
Thank you.
Because I know you and I had talked about what as your time as an ambassador representing the program for Thailand that you had wanted to get in more into like administrative work
hmm
within education. So I mean, well, I'll ask more questions after we talk more about kind of that the first moments in Thailand and things like that. But that's great. Congratulations
Thank you.
on how far you come since the pandemic, which is yeah, a little crazy. So where did you do your exchange abroad before you decided to go to Thailand?
London, and I absolutely loved being abroad in Europe and traveling around. And I was like, okay, I can do this again. And Asia was different. It was beautiful and nice and unique, but it was definitely different.
Yeah. Well, so how did you decide on Thailand? I mean, of course, we offer lots of different locations, and I'm sure that you looked at other programs too, potentially
Mhm.
that were offering other locations as well. Why did you decide on Thailand?
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then some of the other programs I saw were in countries that I had visited already. And
Mhm.
I was like, I could take the easy route out and go somewhere where I was more comfortable and more familiar, but I wanted a new experience. So I hadn't been to Thailand before. And I started reading the blogs on you all's website. And I was like, everyone that goes to teach in Thailand looks like they're having an amazing time. So the blogs really, really sold me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Diamond from yesterday, the interview from yesterday, also said the same thing. Like she was just stalking the blogs. So if you guys haven't checked out the blogs, I'll put that as a resource link in the notes in the description of the YouTube video. But yeah, some powerful stuff in there in the blogs for sure, about people's like real experience and what to expect and things like that. So give us a snapshot. I always ask this question because I think it's super interesting of like what life looks like leading up to your departure. Like, how were you getting, things together? Like, were you in school? Like, were you like right up until you were finishing your master's degree, or kind of what did that look like?
So I didn't leave until October, and I had finished school in May. So that entire summer, I think I was interning at, yeah, I was interning at ETS, Education Testing Service. So I worked up until the point that I left. But getting ready to leave, I was just reading everything that I could possibly read. I was trying to find like Netflix shows that I could change it to Thai. And trying to find like clothes to pack because I knew that I had to dress conservatively. So I was like ordering lots of different clothes, trying different things on. I ordered a new suitcase set. Like I was just buying everything, which I do not recommend. I bought way, way, way more things than I actually needed. Um, and so that was interesting in and of itself.
Well, so what, in your opinion, what are like the non-negotiables? Like if you could give like your top three non-negotiables and then your top three unnecessary items in your opinion.
Um, Non-negotiable. I brought a lot of hair care. Um, which ended up like my shampoo broke in my bag and spilled everywhere. So if you
No.
bring hair care, make sure you like triple Ziploc bag it. So that would be a non-negotiable because I wasn't able to find those things. Um, I brought a lot of soap as well. There's soap there, obviously. And there's a ton of Dove soap. So I would say if you're not like married to a particular scent, you don't need to bring soap. I unfortunately am married to a particular scent, so I'm glad that I did bring a large supply of that. Um and comfortable shoes. I
Mm-hmm.
walked a lot, so I feel like comfortable shoes are also a non-negotiable. In terms of clothing, I my suitcase ended up being overweight on my way back because there were so many like cute boutiques and different stores out there. I would not stress about like buying a load of clothes prior to going, even
Mm-hmm.
if how you have to dress, whether it's Spain, Thailand, or Korea, if how you have to dress once you get there is different than how you normally dress back in the States, you still don't have to like overdo it with the clothes because they're there. Um, what else did I bring? I brought books. I
Mm-hmm.
did not need to bring I did not need to bring books. Um, there are like loads of bookstores and like my school gave me everything I needed.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make sure that I had the supplies to make sure that my classroom was like pretty and everything. My school gave me everything. So I don't know if that's true for all schools. So I would like double check because they were nice enough to do a get to know me interview, not interview, like informal conversation with me and some of my teachers prior to departure. But that wasn't a question that I thought to ask.
Mm.
Um, Oh, another non-negotiable is if you use Apple products, you have to bring your own adapters. The classrooms, my classrooms at least, were not equipped for Apple products.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, adapters are a big one, especially when you first arrive, like just for your phone alone, to have
Hmm.
something to be able to plug in right away is key. And I always say too, like bring something that reminds you of home for moments that you're feeling homesick. That's my biggest piece of advice.
So I brought loads of Polaroids and had them like plastered
Mm,
across my wall.
yeah,
That's what I
pictures.
was also gonna say, as well as whenever you start thinking about, oh, do I need to bring school supplies and things like that? I think the best thing to do is like bring photos. And that in itself is something that you can show your kids too. Not only decorate your room, because I did the same exact thing. I brought literally like a stack of photos just to make a little mural in my room. Like, same thing. But yeah, I also had plenty of supplies given to me through the school as well. So that's a good point to ask that during the interview, though. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, I haven't heard about this interview process. Tell me more about like when did you was it like on Zoom? Did you get to meet other CIE teachers that were also at the same school as you? Kind of what is that interview? Because I think for Thailand you don't have like a formal interview to get the position, but it sounds like maybe you have kind of an orientation before you leave, more or less.
So it wasn't with the other CIE teachers. It was with the Thai teachers who would be at my school.
Hmm.
So we got on, we introduced ourselves. It was more so just to make sure that like I felt comfortable before I got there. So I knew who everyone was. I was able to put names to faces. And we just talked about like things that they expected of teachers, the things that I was looking forward to. It was very, very informal. But it really did make me feel comfortable. I was like, I know I'm going to this strange country with people that I've never met before, but it feels better knowing that like I've had the opportunity to have a conversation with them beforehand. They're excited, they're expecting me, they're able to put a face to the name.
Hmm.
And so it I don't know if all of the programs do that, but I think that that was absolutely wonderful, and I really appreciated the Thai teachers at my school for doing that beforehand. Because our like get to know me Zoom was I want to say maybe like a week and a half before I left. So even before I got on the plane to head to Thailand, I knew like this is the person I'm looking for when I get there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When even if you don't have an informal interview, you do know information about your school before you go.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my next question is a lot of folks are concerned about placements in Thailand and being able to get to and from your school and things like that. So can you give us like your first impression of when you got your school placement and then what the reality of that placement was when you were in Thailand?
So when I saw my placement, like we were able to get pictures, we knew the location and everything. I was like, I'm not too far from Bangkok, so that's great. Um, the pictures did not do my school justice at all. So the my school, I don't know if folks have seen Zoe 101, but when I'm trying to like explain explain my school to people back home. I'm like, it's like PCA. So like it's huge. We all lived like on campus. Even some of the other teachers lived on campus. The school had like a gym, it had engineering studios, it had multiple libraries. It was huge. And so once I got the pictures about like what the living area would look like, I was trying to figure out how much should I buy ahead of time. And then once I got there, there's a site, I do not remember the name of it, but it's like the Thai equivalent to like Temu.
Mhm.
Um, and like everything is super pretty and super cheap. So cheap to the point where you think you might be getting scammed, but everything showed up. Um, so I used that
It's a good
website to
thing.
like decorate it. It was kind of like a dorm. I had a bathroom in the unit with me. Um, it was absolutely wonderful. And the school was huge. And like there's this large cafeteria where there's like different stalls. So I'm used to cafeteria food being like you get whatever they're cooking that day.
Yeah.
Whereas here it was more like food court style where you can go to the different stalls and get the different foods. And they were always like large varieties. It was amazing.
Wow.
That sounds luxurious.
It
That
was.
truly sounds amazing.
What? I spoke with some of my other friends who did other programs, and they were like, "Well, we know kind of sort of where we'll be, but it was more so like we'll figure it out once we get there." And I was like, "No, CIE sent me pictures. I knew names. I had all the information I needed, which helped me put my mom's nerves at ease."
Yeah,
So it was
for
great.
sure. Yeah, if you're trying to negotiate with a parent, you'll have that information ahead of time, which is always good. I know that parents are always nervous sending their kids abroad, so that's a good
Mhm.
point too. Well, that's great. I mean, so it sounds like you had a pretty relatively easy transition. I mean, I'm sure that there were your culture shocks and whatnot getting into Thailand, but you at least had relatively good expectations of kind of what things were going to be like and who you were going to be with when you first arrived. What would you say were the biggest culture shocks in the first couple of moments that you were there?
Um, I think. when I was doing my research and even like reading through the emails and everything, and saw like the emphasis on like dressing conservatively, one of the
Mhm.
biggest culture shocks I had because we landed in Bangkok and like orientation and everything was in Bangkok. So apart from when we went to the temples, everyone dressed normally. I did not pack tank tops or jeans with hose or shorts. And so I every day I looked like I was ready to go teach because I did not know that like this dress code was for work, not necessarily like for just being out and about. So that was one of the biggest things. Like even locals headed to the shops were not covered from head to toe. So that was one of the biggest shocks for me. But because I had only packed conservative clothes, they gave me a reason to go shop. And like some of my favorite ripped jeans to this day, I got it in Thailand.
Yeah, nice. That's funny. I mean, I think the overall view is that, yeah, you are supposed to be pretty conservative. And sometimes you have a uniform at school, from what I've heard from folks. But yeah, you can bring some normal clothes too. No worries. No worries, especially, for out and about adventures. You never know. You want to have kind of things that you feel comfortable in that you're used to wearing too. It sounds like that's a good plan. Great. Well, so tell us more about, I mean, because you were TEFL certified, not through CIE TEFL, which hurts me a little bit, I have to say, but that's okay. I think the most important thing, honestly, in my opinion, for Thailand is that, I mean, if you're wanting to go, that getting TEFL certified is an important consideration because you are a lead teacher. But you had mentioned that, your school provided a lot of materials for you. So how did you find the actual teaching position?
I think it was great. I was lucky, whereas my school for like the core courses that I taught, they had the entire curriculum and everything put together. They sent me all of the information in the PowerPoints ahead of time. And there was room to customize it, but for the most part, all of that programming and planning was already done. But
Mhm.
I was also allowed to teach an elective course. So they let me choose which elective course I wanted to teach. And I ended up selecting English and media and film. And
Ooh.
I got to design that course entirely by myself. And so I loved having like the structure and also that creative piece. And it was really fun because I'm looking up different videos and movies and different ways that I can make watching movies in a different language fun for my students. And so
Yeah.
that was great. And that made teaching super fun and easy. And then with our normal courses, again, they provided everything I needed with the exception of my adapter. So I just had to make sure that I could connect my laptop to the larger screens that they had in the classrooms. But other than that, reviewing the information they sent me ahead of time. Um, and that's was the gist of teaching.
Yeah. Well, and so in your elective class, if you want to share, like, what was your favorite, like, topic or lesson that you planned for your kids?
So I had a section on films or TV shows that were adapted from books.
Mm.
And I was super excited because I love to read and I'm one of those folks who think the books are always better than the movies. I assigned my students to find a book that had been turned into a TV show or a movie and to only read the first chapter and watch the first few episodes of the first part of the movie and see like where things differed. My kids went above and beyond. And I don't know if some of them had already read these books prior to, but the level of detail in their papers was crazy. Like they pointed out even the smallest of differences between the books and the movies, and they didn't go just the first chapter. They went all throughout. Um, and it was really interesting because it started like conversations in class with people like, oh, I saw that movie or I saw that TV show, but I hadn't read the book. And now they're talking about the differences between the two. So I think of all of my lessons, that's the one that I love the most. But what I did was I broke each week up into genres.
Mhm.
So, regardless of what the assignment was for that week, one week it was horror movies, one week it was comedies, one week it was, and so like all of our assignments went around what the genre for the week was, and I loved it, and the kids were super excited. It was so nice to like see them actively participating and even going above and beyond with the assignments that I gave.
Yeah, that's
That
so
is
cool.
so cool.
I want to take that class. Teach me, Antoinette. That's so cool. This is not the first time that we've heard of folks being able to do like fun elective and have some creativity in the classroom in Thailand. And so that's really refreshing to hear that. Not only did you get to teach an elective, but it's an elective that we haven't heard about yet. And that you got to have
Okay.
so much creative liberty over kind of what you were doing in the course, and that the students really picked up on that.
They were like, this is the title, do what you want. And I was like, great.
You're like, okay, and I'm running with that. Fun. That's so cool. So yeah, you're teaching, and I'm guessing that you also had some time to travel around. I know a big time for travel, and I think you took advantage of this too. You can correct me if I'm wrong, is in April.
Mhm.
You know, when folks can take some time to travel. So tell us a little bit about like what you were able to see while you were out in Thailand, and maybe like your favorite trip of all that you took.
Okay, so once I got situated and we were able to travel around, I mostly traveled around Thailand, so going to some of the different islands, that was always super, super fun. But in April, I was able to like travel out further, so I went to Vietnam, Singapore, and Malaysia. It was it was absolutely wonderful. I think one of the biggest things is the difference in currencies between those countries as well. So I
Mhm.
had gotten somewhat used to the exchange in Thailand. And then I went to Vietnam and I went out and I'm having a great time. I'm eating, everything's great. And I get the bill and it's 1 million dong. And I had to like
Like,
focus for a second. I'm like, what's 1 million dong? And so I converted it and I was like, oh, this is $46. Wonderful. Like, so those trips were really, really nice. Um, I've heard people like rant and rave about the Singapore airport. So it was great to go and see that. As someone who travels a lot, I don't know why, maybe I nerded out in the airport, but it was beautiful. It's so green and lush, and just breathing in there was great. So those
mm,
were some of my favorite trips.
yeah, that's awesome. That's funny. The currency exchange is wild. Because you get, I mean, like you're saying, you do get used to like, okay, this is more or less like this. And I feel like you're always converting, at least I know I do this all the time. I'm always trying to convert back to US dollars because that's like the
Mhm.
most concrete that you have set in your mind. And that's a hard adjustment for sure. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so tell us a little bit more about kind of the transition then out of teaching. So you're in Thailand, you're teaching, you're traveling around. Kind of what comes next for you? Like what is in your thought process? Because I think a lot of people think, okay, either I'm going to renew or stay longer, or you know, I'm going to move on to the next thing. And how did you kind of go through that thought process?
So I really, really, really wanted to stay in Thailand, and I interviewed for a consulting job out there at the same time that I interviewed for a consulting job in DC.
Okay.
Um, and so I ended up getting both, and I was like, I don't know how to pick. And so
Yeah.
like I'm talking to family, and they're like, okay, well, if you get the consulting job in Thailand, when will you come home to visit? And I was like, I probably won't. Um, so I ultimately went with the consulting job in DC. So, and it was still in education policy.
Mhm.
Um, but before I went to DC, I stopped in California um to go see a friend of mine. And when I got there, I started seeing Thai restaurants everywhere. I did
Mm.
not know that there were so many Thai restaurants across the US prior to going to Thailand. And so I'm like excited, and my friends and I are going to get Thai food, and immediately I'm like, oh, this is much, much, much more expensive than it costs in Thailand.
Mhm.
Like, I just wanted some Thai tea, which is like 75 cents in Bangkok, and here y'all are charging me $8.
Mm-mm. That's crazy. That is crazy. The price
So
of coffee in general is just out of control.
yes. So that was some adjusting, and I think what made that adjustment period worse is that of all of the places for me to go, as soon as I came back, I went to California, which
Mhm.
was far more expensive. Um, So once I left there, I went back to Louisiana to see family for a bit. And then I went to DC. So I think the adjustment was it was okay. I think the biggest adjustment was more so the transitioning back to USD.
Yep.
It was also nice to have more people around me that like I didn't have to think about how I spoke because I was trying my best to learn Thai and it took a lot of thought power to like make sure I was pronouncing things properly.
Mhm.
So to be back where I could speak English and I felt like a little bit more comfortable, that was nice too. But I do wish that in hindsight, I wish I would have stayed and did the consulting job in Thailand.
Yeah, yeah. And extend your time. I mean, I think people are really concerned about being able to do that. So it's nice to hear that. I mean, there are opportunities to be able to stay in Thailand and to
Mhm.
extend whether you want to be a teacher or you want to look into other opportunities too. I always say that yeah, like the gateway into, being an immigrant abroad and being able to stay abroad is definitely teaching. I think that's probably the easiest way to get into any career abroad, but there's definitely opportunities to extend in various different ways too. So that's really good to know. When this is kind of a tangent, but I have to know because you mentioned Thai food, what is your order? Like, what's the top Thai food order? From someone who's lived in Thailand and has now gone to Thai restaurants in the States as well.
Um, In Thailand, my favorite thing was to go to the markets and they had these like little kebab things.
Mm,
So I would load up on those and then I am a big person like I don't want to eat things abroad that I could get at home.
yep.
So like I'm anti McDonald's and other like major chains anywhere else. However, this is the caveat. They absolutely positively love KFC in Thailand. And I was
Really?
like, yes. And I was like, it's just KFC. And then I tried it. It's not the same. It's not the same. So I would go to the market and get like my meats and my fruits and my veggies and everything from there. And I would stop at KFC on the way back home and get their potatoes to like eat with it.
Mm,
Oh, it was amazing.
wow. Wow. Well, so what's different about KFC in the US versus in Thailand?
The menu is different, but apart from like the different menu items that we don't have, the something about the mashed potatoes are just different. Like our mashed potatoes back home, they're like I don't want to say stiff, but like I'm trying to think of a better word. Firm. They're firm. And the gravy is good, but in Thailand, the mashed potatoes are like so soft and smooth, and the gravy, it tastes different. I don't know what they put in it, but it's amazing. Oh, also, those were some of the foods that like weren't super spicy. The very first thing I learned how to say in Thai was no spice because the food is so hot. And even
Yeah.
when like you tell them like no peppers, it's still hot, but it's like bearable.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to get something that you can handle for sure. That's really fun. Well, I'll ask Gabby too. What's your top recommendation for Thai food?
Um, I feel like everybody has their go-to, and mine honestly depends on which restaurant I go to because, like Antoinette said, I feel like I always had my go-to at my specific, day of the night market that was near my town. Um, I feel like you can never go wrong. Obviously, pad thai guy, you can never go wrong with pad thai or like the cashew chicken or like I don't know. It was really funny. I'm also like I shouldn't be eating gluten, so that's why I resort to like all of the egg noodles and all of the
Mhm.
things like that, which include pad thai. Um, but yeah, I think the whole KFC aura in Thailand is absolutely hilarious because I also lived right next to a grocery store that was attached to a KFC. Like they're everywhere. They really are attached to everything. And I would also like treat myself after going grocery shopping. I'd be like, okay, maybe I can get this KFC bowl. And they had like rice bowls. They had other menu items at their KFCs that we don't we don't even think to have. Um and like even you're right, the mashed potato, like anything, it's just even though they are like even the same menu items, they do not taste the same. So that was really, really fun to dabble in, I would agree.
In their dessert menu.
Ooh,
Oh my
So
goodness.
much.
KFC has in Thailand has such a large dessert menu. I was like, oh, this is great.
yeah.
It's so crazy.
One, just
And it's
regular
so
desserts in
different.
Thailand are very popular from what I've heard too. Like the mango
Mango sticky
Sticky
rice.
rice.
yeah, mango sticky rice. That's the one.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And
So
I've tried
good.
it at so many different Thai restaurants since I've gotten back, even in like where was I? Los Angeles, DC, Houston. Houston has a few Thai restaurants. None of them are nowhere near as good. I'm
They're
like so
never the
sad.
same. Never this, and I think that goes, of course, I mean, it makes sense because you're not in the country, but I think that goes so far as to every single dish is never going to be the same as when you're stumbling upon the streets and there's just some little old lady cooking, little meals and you stop and grab one for, like you mentioned, 75 cents and it's the best thing ever. You're not
Ever.
going to get that at a restaurant in the US.
No. And all of the curries, the red curry, the green curry,
The
all of the
curries.
curries.
Oh my
Oh my goodness.
gosh. I'm like starving now.
I'm so
Oh.
hungry.
If you're going to Thailand, enjoy the food, people. It's gonna be really, really good.
Yes.
I have, and
Yes.
if you're,
Try everything.
yeah.
Try everything. They're like, um, I'm trying to remember what the name of the street was, but it's equivalent to like if you've ever been to New Orleans, like their version of Bourbon Street,
Mhm.
in Bangkok, and there are these little carts, and they have everything. I tried like flash fried frog, the
Mhm.
beetles. I tried everything except the scorpion, and the only reason why I didn't the only reason why I didn't try the scorpion is because one of my Thai friends was like, there's a little piece on the end, and you just want to make sure that you get the one that the piece is off of. Like, that's the one that's safe. And I was like, the likelihood of me messing that up
Mhm.
is high. So if I'm not with you, I'm not trying.
Yeah. Go with a guide on that one. Someone who knows if you're gonna eat some scorpion. Oh my goodness.
But I wanted to try it so bad. Oh, there were also jellyfish. I had never tried jellyfish before. It was great. I ate everything.
As you should.
I think we have some good pictures of you in in the markets, I think.
You know?
Do we have a picture of
That's
you
so
with the
true.
scorpion? Is that, am I making that up?
No, I think. Oh, I went to Vietnam and they had snake wine. So I have pictures of
Um,
that too. I am very, very adventurous when it comes to eating and trying new things. And that was the only thing I've ever had that I was like, oh no, no. It was so bad. So I recommend everyone trying everything. Try the frogs, the beetles, even try the scorpion. I don't recommend the snake wine.
This-
That's where you draw the line.
It
yeah,
I can't even say that it's an acquired taste because it was like bad.
Yeah. You never know. You have to put yourself out there, try things. And if you don't like it, you never have to have it again. I'm sure you'll never have
exactly.
that again in your life. And that's okay. That's really funny. So okay, so getting back to kind of your transition back, you talked about you applying for a consulting role. So can you tell us a little bit more? Because that, I mean, it sounds like it's still within the realm of education, but of course it is different than being, a lead classroom teacher. So what exactly would, the consulting position, what does that look like for you?
The one in DC or the one in Thailand?
Both, if you want to walk us through kind of what those roles looked like in both countries.
Okay, so the one in Thailand, I would have been working with students to help them gain access to American universities.
Okay.
And they were specifically working with the Ivy League schools in the US. So that was really nice. I went to their offices in Ikamai, and it was beautiful. They had like decorations from each of the Ivies, and me having just graduated from UPenn. I was like, oh, there's my school. So it was great. Um, The entire team, the interview process was really easy. I went in, we talked, everything was wonderful. One of the guys that worked there actually was from Metairie, Louisiana. So when I mentioned being from New Orleans, there was a connection there, and we were able to speak. So the process wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And there was this site, I'm blanking on the name of the website, but there was this site where they showed other teaching positions and different things that immigrants could do in Thailand. And when I
Mhm.
was looking through it, that's how I found the consulting role. So it was super easy to apply to. Um, and like I said, I ended up getting the position and I went with the DC one instead. The DC position was the same thing. The hardest part with applying for the DC position was that I was still in Thailand, so the time difference was crazy. So I remember having like an interview at like 2 in the morning.
Mhm.
So that was really interesting. And then once I got back to DC, having had the experience of teaching in Thailand was great because my teaching experience prior to that was always as a student. So
Mhm.
in undergrad, I had to have classroom hours, so I would assist different teachers. And then when I worked on my TOEFL certification, there was like these virtual teaching opportunities, but I had never been like the lead teacher. It had never been my classroom. So to
Yeah.
have that experience in Thailand and to go into DC and I'm working with these different organizations that are working in different areas of education, whether it was like K through 12 or higher ed. It was nice to have the lens of like knowing what it felt to be the lead teacher when I was advising my clients on different things and different like policy proposals that they should present.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was more of like a policy
Mhm.
consultant in
Yes.
DC. Okay. And so, yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. Like the two different roles. I always like to know too, because for teaching abroad, I always like to give a rule of thumb that you need to really be preparing for moving abroad. Give yourself like 6 to 12 months, closer to 12 months if possible, to really be able to get your ducks in a row before you move abroad and be able to make the deadlines for applications and things like that. What does like transitioning out of a teaching role and maybe into, like you're saying, like with a consulting role, what does the timeline look on that? Because I'm assuming that you were starting to apply for this quite a bit ahead of the end of your
Mhm.
contract in Thailand.
hmm Yeah, so when the semester was getting ready to end, it was a lot because I'm like, I know I have this short window of time that I'm like, I'll still be in Asia and I know I want to like travel around. So it was me planning all of my trips and scheduling my trips around my interviews.
Mhm.
And then figuring out the pros and the cons. So like if I stay in Thailand, now I have to find another apartment because that's another thing. CIE is wonderful because you all provide housing. But
Mhm.
if I would have transitioned to the consulting role, I would have had to figure out where I was going to live and all of these different things. And the same was true for DC, but it's different with me trying to like look for an apartment in DC and being able to like contact them and have these conversations. Whereas at that point, my tie was only to the point where like I could have the very, very basic conversations. So I wasn't to the point where I could like call an apartment complex and ask questions.
Yeah.
Um, so figuring out like how that would go, I think the entire process for everything took about like 2 months to like get everything in order, not the actual like leaving and getting everything situated, but like finding the different roles to apply to, applying, interviewing, and still trying to fit that around traveling was 2 months. So I would say just to be safe, if anyone is like approaching the end of their contract, to give themselves maybe like a 3 month buffer to like figure out what's next if they're not renewing. But as someone who was in Thailand and left to come back to the States, I highly recommend if you can renew to renew. Like don't leave. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a balance depending on like what your personal and professional goals are of how long a contract should be. I think, in my opinion, I think 6 months at the very least, for most teaching positions, because I think that's the adjustment period in a lot of cases, and your time to really get adjusted to your new lifestyle. If you can stay more, and if your life allows for that, then that's fantastic. And if your professional goals or your personal life takes you in another direction, that's totally fine too, but it's something to be cognizant of as you're planning the experience and making choices along the way for sure. Because 6 months will feel short.
It does.
Um, I've heard that many, many times, because of course, I mean, for folks that don't know, our program gives you an option to choose between 6 and 12 months. And so you do have to make that decision during your time of application. And yeah, it's a tough consideration, because when you're at home, it's like, wow, 6 months away is a long time. And then when you're out there, you're like, wow, 6 months is so short. So yeah, that's something, if you guys want counseling on that, of course, the CIE staff is always here to help you figure that out and what's going to be the best for you. But it's really inspiring to hear kind of Antoinette's story and other stories too about, the decision on, how long to stay and when to come back home. So
Yeah. And it'll
And like
feel
you
different
said,
for family too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gabby.
no, go ahead.
As I say, it'll feel different too because on my end, the 6 months felt really, really short. And I was like, I didn't get a chance to do everything I wanted to do and go everywhere I wanted to go. But when I got home, everyone felt like I had been gone for years. And I was like, it has not been that long. It's been 6 months. And I'm like, no, no, I could have sworn that you left like a year and a half. I was like, no, I did not. So for me,
um,
That the
this time went
same.
so fast, but for them, it felt like I was gone forever.
yeah.
Yes, it is like a simulation, honestly. And I think that's because we're stacking so much within that 6 months or so much within that year. And Rachel brings up a good point. There's such a large transitional period. So those first 6 months, you really are getting adjusted. You really are meeting your go-to people, that you hang out with, your go-to market people, getting closer with your students. That takes time. And so by the end of 6 months, like you're totally right, Antoinette. Like I also felt the same way of I didn't get to do everything that I wanted to do. And then I came home and everyone's like, gosh, you've been gone for forever. Did you get bored? And I'm like, no, there's just so much more left that I feel like I didn't even get to reach.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Can't wait to go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
Well, so before I ask you about plans to go back, so we were talking about the beginning where you got your bachelor's degree and your master's degree before you went to Thailand. Then you came back for a job in consulting within the realm of education in Washington, DC. But now you're in law school. So tell us about like what happened from the consulting role to getting into law school, and how did you make that decision?
I so I've always loved education and I've always felt as though like teachers got the short end of the stick and I wanted to do something to like fix that, to help that, and to make the experience of school more enjoyable for students. I was one of those kids who I've always loved school. And I tell people like some folks skate as a hobby. I go to school as a hobby. I love it. And so that was the point of me going into the consulting role to help these different our different clients because all of their missions were something involving education, whether it was like assisting schools in getting nutritious meals or whether it was like getting funding for different forms of schools, different alternative means of education and whatnot. And I loved it, but policy is slow.
Yeah.
Policy is really, really slow. And so I was like, okay, litigation is also slow, but policy is I'm trying to write this particular proposal and then I have to like negotiate with all of these people to try to get it passed. And by the time it does make it to the House or the Senate, it's diluted. And on the back end, whatever comes out, if it's bad, then that's when the lawyers step in. So I was like, I need to be on that end. I need to be one of the lawyers that's saying, this law is bad. I'm going to like sue you because it's unconstitutional. It's like encroaching on our students' rights and whatnot. And so I was like, oh, okay. Law school sounds like the next step. And so I'm grateful to have started law school. I've started my second year. And this past summer, I was able to intern with the Education Law Center in Philadelphia. So all of my cases were around like language access issues. So schools
Mhm.
who aren't giving students the language services they need, or school districts who are sending important information about students home, but they're not sending it in the parents' language. So you're wondering why you're constantly sending home these truancy letters, but this parent isn't responding. It's because they don't read English.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of my clients this past summer were also immigrant families. So I was like, okay, based off my experience abroad, not only in Thailand, but all of the other places that I've traveled to and lived, my passion for education and my work in this specific like niche area about like language and learning and policy, I was like, I think I want to do immigration too. So I'm focusing on education and immigration law.
Wow, that's great. I mean, that we need more people like you
Yeah,
to
I was
stand
gonna
up
say those
for
exact
students.
words.
For sure, for sure. Well, I think to kind of connect, like your prior experience, how did you leverage? Because I'm sure like you've had to demonstrate your experience on multiple applications now for not only your position as a consultant in Washington, D.C., but then for law school as well. So tell us a little bit more, like from your level of expertise, like what do you put on your applications and like how do you demonstrate your experience and how do you use your time abroad and things like that for output in applications to further yourself in your career.
Oh, it's the biggest resume booster. It's the biggest conversation starter. I literally have like multiple degrees and all these different things on my resume, but everyone wants to talk about the fact that like Thailand is on there. And I love it. I'm like, I love this song. So I'm always excited to speak about it. On my resume, I have the school name and like the location and everything. I have the role that I did to like putting together programming, actually teaching, being a lead teacher. We also got to work on, well, I got the opportunity to work on, my school was trying to figure out partnerships between their school and different American schools. So was able to help with that research. So it was also kind of like a research piece. Um, so it's been an amazing resume booster. Especially when like I'm applying to different things and everything I've applied to has some type of education lens. So when they ask like if you have teaching experience, and I'm like, of course, I taught in Thailand. It's like, wait, what? And it pauses interviews every single time.
I love it.
So I can't recommend it enough. I think one of the funniest things about like resumes specifically is when you get to law school, there are a lot of people who come to law school straight from undergrad.
Mhm.
And so there isn't a lot on their resume, so they don't have to worry about like condensing it. But for those of us who have done other things, gone to other schools, worked other jobs prior to coming to law school, if our resumes are a little bit more lengthier, for legal jobs, they want your resume to be one page. So you go to the career service office and you show them like, look at my life on these two papers, and this is everything that I've done. And they're like, okay, let's see everything we can cut. We're cutting this, it has nothing to do with law. We're cutting this, we're cutting that. Um, and everyone that I've went to like look over my resume, they're like, we need to cut everything that does has nothing to do with law, except this teaching in Thailand thing. That looks good. We're gonna keep that on there. And it has nothing at all to do with like whether I can do legal research and writing and analysis or how well I'm doing in my classes, but it's something that makes my resume stand out.
Mhm.
And the folks who have like reviewed my resume acknowledge that regardless of whether or not your skills there as a teacher relate directly to the job, it shows that you can adapt to different environments. It
Mhm.
shows that you can work in high-paced environments. It shows all of these different like personal soft skills that are also important. And so I think it's funny that like all of the work that I did prior to Thailand and all of the work that I've done afterwards has been like somewhat omitted from my resume now. But that stays.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lifelong thing that's going to help you stand out in your career. Among things I'm sure that you will do in the future that will also help you stand out as well. So I mean, the next logical question for me is like, okay, so you're in your second year of law school. What's the vision from here on out?
So I'm hoping that once I graduate from law school, I told you school is my hobby. The goal is to then get my PhD in international education development. Right now I'm working on a few publications, fingers crossed that I get published within the next year, focusing on the rights of immigrant students.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's the goal right now. And so the way that I see my life right now is there's two options after law school. I'll
Mhm.
either get into my PhD program and hopefully move to New York and be able to do that type of research that focuses on multilingual students, both domestically and internationally, or go back and finish teaching abroad.
Yeah, come
So
on out.
those are the two options. I'm like, I want to either continue my education and like further develop in this very like specific area. But I think the only thing that would, I guess, stall me going back into that next program is whether or not I'm able to get my publications out. And I think, God forbid, if I'm not able to do that within the next year, then me being able to go teach abroad, I'll be able to go to another country. I'll be able to do something that I absolutely love doing.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of like downtime when teaching abroad. So I'll be able to like continue to work on my research and my publications and then reapply to the PhD program.
Yeah. Well, so when are you estimated to finish your law degree?
2027, May
2027.
2027.
Okay, okay. So you have some time to relax, work on your publications, get your law degree, and then be thinking about your PhD program in New York. That's pretty cool.
I hope.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really awesome. I mean, it sounds like you have, and I know that maybe on your end, I know that I feel this way in my career. It's like you look like you have a very clear vision of your career, and you've really invested a lot of time and effort into your education. And so that's really refreshing to see, and kind of how that looks, from being teaching abroad, and then how that looks for the kind of longevity of your career. But yeah, I mean, if you're wanting to teach abroad, you're welcome to
I'll
come
give
back at
you a
any
call.
time. We'll have you be an ambassador for another country. Um, yeah, I mean, that's really, really cool. That you're looking, I mean, maybe it's like a sabbatical year. I don't know.
That's what I've been telling my parents. Because my mom is like, okay, you've like literally collected all of these degrees. What are you gonna do? I was like, it's a hobby. Like, you don't ask someone after they finish putting together their puzzles, like, okay, what's next? Like, no, you congratulate them for finishing the puzzle and you wait for them to start the next puzzle.
Well, I love that you say that, like, education is a hobby for you. Like, you're going to law school and you're wanting to get a PhD, and that's just a hobby. But like, we'll figure out like what that hobby leads to later. We'll just congratulate you for
Yeah.
going through the program as is. I love that. Well, I guess then another curious question of mine would be, do you have an idea, like, would it be Thailand again? Or do you have an idea of where you would go again? Like, what would be on your list, your priority list of where you'd want to go teach?
I have no clue because part of me has been missing Thailand ever since I left,
Mm.
which I think is a very unique feeling because like when I left London, I didn't miss it. I've lived a I've lived a lot of places in the States and like whenever I've moved, I haven't missed it. But I miss Thailand like terribly. So I would consider like going back there because I also would like to get better with my Thai. And I'm
Mhm.
sure I've lost a lot of it since leaving and not using it normally. But I also really like new adventures. So I wouldn't be opposed to like going to a different country that I've never been to before. So I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if when the time comes I do just select Thailand because I miss it so much.
Yes, you're not alone in that. I've had people that I've talked to that have gone to Thailand and that are wanting to go back. Another ambassador, I'll shout her out, Flora. She did 6 months, then she came back and she was like, wait, what am I doing? I need to go back to Thailand.
Yeah,
So,
one of the other teachers from my program, Maddie, she did the program.
mm,
And if I'm not mistaken, I think she extended when we did it. And then
mm,
she came back, she taught in Texas for a bit, and now she just got back to Thailand. And I'm like, that's amazing.
mm. Are we talking about the same, the Maddie
Maddie
Brendan?
Brundage, yeah.
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 I was gonna say, I was gonna bring her up too.
Another ambassador. Yeah, her story is super cool too on her journey and to and from Thailand. She actually worked for OEG as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, it seems like you just can never get away.
Yeah, and every time I see like the different things she's posting on Instagram, because we keep in contact, I'm like, oh my God, I should have come back with you.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You might cross paths
It's
again.
not too late.
Yeah. Well, I think that speaks to like the connections that you make when you're abroad too. I mean, I think that's apart from
Totally.
building your professional career and like your resume and things like that. Your social network is also something super powerful that you build abroad, and that you never know how that might affect, your personal and professional choices in the future too.
Definitely.
So yeah, 100%. That's super cool. Well, I mean, coming to the end of the interview, I mean, you've been through so many different aspects, especially within the realm of education. For someone who wants to be in education, but not necessarily be a teacher full time, what is your biggest recommendation? Like, how did you find your path, and how can others find their path within education, but not necessarily as a teacher?
I think that's what makes programs like CIE so powerful because personally, I think there's a lot of different roles in education that while there's not a requirement that you have any teaching experience, it's always a plus. It's always beneficial. Whether that's in like administration or even consulting, knowing what goes into creating a lesson plan, knowing what goes into like classroom management and all of these things is extremely important because it helps you like better empathize with the teachers, know from the point of view of the students. So I think it's important if possible to get that teaching experience. But if that's not possible, if individuals want to go like straight into these other roles in education, I think having conversations with teachers is really important. And even if you can't like pick up the phone and call one of us, like we mentioned earlier, the blogs are a really great space. I know I think I wrote like one or two. I think I really enjoyed writing those. Just getting that information and that intel. I know school is a hobby for me, but I highly recommend everyone to study education. There are folks who um, are brilliant and they know certain things about a topic, whether it's like biology or anything, but having not experienced like teacher training, whether
Mm,
that's getting their TEFL or studying education in undergrad, that you kind of like miss out on. So like I've taken classes on classroom management, on child and adolescent psychology to like understand our students. And I think that's really, really important because sometimes that's the disconnect. Because if a teacher has all of the information in the world, or not even a teacher, but a consultant or, a salesperson, because there's all of these different avenues that relate to education, not
mhm.
having that little like piece of knowing what actually happens in the classroom can sometimes like disconnect you from your clients or your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, being hands-on in the field, I think, is always a good place to start. And I think it also informs of what direction you need to take and you want to take too. Um,
Definitely.
I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, Antoinette, but I feel like every step that I've taken in my career has better informed me of what my strengths are, but also what I'm more passionate about and taking steps towards that. Whether or not I was super passionate about the role at the time or not. I think that it's always about informing yourself and then also just gaining that experience to empathize with other people, but also just to be able to see what you like and see what you don't like, um,
Definitely.
and get that professional experience for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think this has been a great conversation of, if you're, wanting to go and teach abroad, there's many things that you can get out of it, and you never know what you might discover about yourself and what field you might want to move further into, post experience. So that's great.
And we need
Um,
advocates in education. So that's my shameless plug. Education
yes,
consultants, education sales folks, like we need it.
yes, please, please. We do absolutely. If you want to take Antoinette's route, please be my guest. We would love to have it. Well, I know we're like in the last minute of our interview, and I want to be respectful of your time. So my last question always is, what is your biggest piece of advice for folks that are, applying or just thinking about it, or maybe going out this fall or next spring, to teach abroad? What is your, take home advice for folks?
So my advice for folks that are considering it is definitely do it. My advice for the folks who've already decided that they are doing it and they're in the application process or getting ready to depart is to be open to all of the experiences.
Yes.
Like from all of the people that I've talked to and myself, the difference in like our experiences once we got to our countries are the folks that were open to new experiences versus the ones who weren't.
Yeah.
So if you decide before you even get there what your experience will look like and it doesn't look exactly like that, you're going to make yourself miserable versus being open-minded and trying different things. So try new foods, go to new places, talk to new people. I know it's not a requirement that we know the language, but I personally recommend like learning a few phrases and whatnot. So those things are the things that like I think is extremely important and will like drastically change your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Being open is a huge one for sure. For sure. Well, great. Thank you so much, Antoinette, for sharing everything about your story and kind of where you're going. I wish you the best of luck in your law degree. I know that that's a lot of work, but I'm sure if school is your hobby, you're probably having the time of your life. So um, I wish you the best. If you need anything, you want to go to Brad, let me listen. I'm your girl. Gabby's your girl. We can help you
So
out.
much.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time today. And if anyone has any questions, you can always email us at teach@cie.org, or you can catch the replay on our YouTube account. I'll be posting more information on our Instagram account later today with the replay and things like that. So thank you, Antoinette. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure. So
So,
see you.
bye.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.